So here we are to talk today about our 3-day, 18 speaker plus special sessions fall summit.
Yeah.
Fall summit. I am really thrilled to be getting back to a 3-day show.
Yeah.
This will be our first online 3-day show.
Right. And our first 3-day show in quite a while of, in any venue. So
Correct.
yeah, it's great getting back to it. I mean, the 1 days were really good, and some of them we could like do around a specific topic, but really, I mean, the way that we designed the conference from the beginning was to try to give a breadth of all kinds of topics, from code to content to, design to UX to IA to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's hard to do that in a 1 day.
It's hard to do that in a 1 day, right?
It's hard to do it in a 3-day, but you have more space.
So a 1 day was great for focusing in on the topic, like human-centered design or front-end focus. But case in point, in terms of the variety of topics we can cover on day one, speaker one, kicking things off, is Christina Halberson, the content strategist extraordinaire who really started the whole rallying behind content strategy in our medium maybe 10 years ago with her important book, Content Strategy for the Web. And she will be giving a talk first thing in the morning called, I am so very tired of terrible content. And I, for one, am just waiting. I'm buttering my popcorn now. I am waiting for her to kick butt. And she is a great entertaining educator.
Yeah.
Like, you laugh and afterwards you realize you learned something. So great way to kick off day one. How about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, aside from looking forward to literally everything, because, we try to design a conference that we ourselves would be very, very happy to attend, since we will be attending. I'm actually, the afternoon of day one, I'm super looking forward to. I'm a CSS guy. That's just sort of a thing. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt that says CSS on it right now. And we have, in the afternoon of day one, Miriam Suzanne is going to talk about name brand CSS conventions like OOCSS and BEM and SMAX and et cetera, Tailwind, that sort of thing, and compare and contrast and sort of break them down into here's what each one does well, here's what they don't do so well, here's why you might choose them for this sort of project or another sort of project. And then right after her, Una Kravitz is going to talk about modern CSS tips and tricks. I've seen a version of this talk, and it is mind expanding. I love the stuff that she goes over, and even better, the stuff that she goes over is all stuff that you think, oh sure, that will be awesome in 3 years when browsers support it. But basically everything she talks about browser support. Houdini, she gets into a little bit. I believe she's planning to, so that you might think, oh, Houdini, right, nothing supports that. There's more Houdini support than you think. Anyway, I'm looking forward to those, because I'm always looking to learn about CSS. I think I'm going to learn a lot from those two.
I mean, we did start as a code conference, a design code conference, before branching out into all the UX and everything. On day two, a couple of presentations I'm looking forward to are Working Together in Diverse Teams by Farai Matzima and The Principles of Cross-Cultural Design by Sanongo Akpem. Now, Sanongo has a new book out on the topic of getting a phone call. I will decline. Sorry. I shut off my phone, but my computer then.
Of course.
So thank you, Apple. Anyway,
Sanongo. Well, I'm going to thank you because you just reminded me to disable an alarm.
I thought I had disabled them all. I can't mute my computer because then I couldn't hear you. So
Anyway, Sanongo.
Sanongo has written a book on bias in design. And, for me, these two talks kind of work well together, because when we started this conference and when most of us started in tech, we were pretty euphoric about it. It's going to change the world. It's going to, democratize and liberate. And in many ways, it has done wonderful things and created lots of wonderful jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also, we're now at a maturity stage in our medium and in our industry where we're seeing, yeah, we keep hiring people who are just like us and then making products that aren't quite right for everybody, or we keep on designing the way for ourselves instead of for. So I think these two talks, working together in diverse teams and principles of cross-cultural design, will come at that from two different ways, both of which are accessible and immediately actionable. Farai will talk about how we not only find people who are maybe have different backgrounds from us, but how we keep things engaging. Like, what is the industry going to look like? It depends on us. It depends on what we do next. It's I've seen I've seen him give this talk, and it's phenomenally engaging, and you feel good. It's not a guilty, like you're doing something wrong. It's like, how can we be better? It's a great talk. And Sanango talking about bias. We all have it in design. We make things that work for us, not for other people. I think he's going to be, as he does in his new book, I think he's going to be able to give big picture stuff that's motivating and drill down on small details. So I'm looking forward to those, along with so much else.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that those will lead into Cheryl Platt's talking about basically multimodal design. She's got a talk called Designing Beyond Websites, What is Dead May Never Die, which I love as a title. I can't wait to see the talk. But you know, those same sorts of principles of not getting too focused on just, you know, what your cultural background, getting too focused on doing things for people just like you. Cheryl's talk, you know, is geared towards, don't design just for the computer, right? Like, it used to be this page best viewed on Internet Explorer, and sometimes when we design it, if we're not careful, we get into this page best viewed on my computer, right? Because I designed it for me in my environment and didn't test it across a whole bunch of different modalities, not just responsive web design, but also, you know, what happens if someone uses voiceover on your app or page or whatever.
I think that's really exciting. I want to talk about two more talks that I'm looking forward to. Again, we have lots of practical hands-on talks. But we also have lots of thought-provoking talks. And two that are exciting to me. Morten Rand Hendrickson will be talking about practical ethics for the modern web designer. So in light of what I was talking about before, ethics and bias and so on and so forth, he talks about a simple, practical way of, simple's possibly the wrong word because a lot of thought went into it, but actionable, simple ways to address problems we may not even be aware of in our work. And Jerry McGovern will be kicking off day 3, talking about, well, his talk is called Worldwide Waste. And he'll be talking about something I never even considered when I got into this. To me, the old world was making pollution, but digital wasn't. And digital had nothing to do with climate footprint, and that's wrong. And he talks about, he starts by saying digital is the fastest growing user of energy and emitter of CO2 gas. So that's crazy. I didn't know that. And it's not a bring down. It's not a feel bad. It's a, how can we design differently? It's practical. What can we do as designers and developers to make sites and pages and design experiences that respect the planet as well as the user? So excited about that.
Which should lead nicely into Sarah Suidan talking about applied accessibility, so practical tips on that. And, you know, a lot of times when we make things more accessible, we make them more efficient, you know, if it's done correctly. So that should be a good one too. And on day 3, I'm actually really looking forward to Adekunle Oduye, who's doing a talk called The Dawn of Design Engineering. He and some co-authors literally like a week or 2 ago came out with a new book on design engineering. And we were fortunate to have him giving a talk about that, sort of, you know, talking about that topic and how people can use it to make their jobs easier, make their work more impactful. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to that one. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of them, as I know you are too. Right?
I'm looking forward to us getting on stage at the very end of the show and wrapping things up by talking about themes that emerge, themes that, making connections, because it's not a bunch of hors d'oeuvres, it's a meal. And I think we'll be able to help attendees figure out what they just filled their heads with over the past 3 days.
Right.
And where else they can go for further learning.
Yeah, and that'll be actually the third of our sort of quote unquote after hours conversations. On the end of day 3 is you and me, but we have at the end of day 1 a conversation with Will Reynolds, who's a SEO expert and a practical SEO expert, and Jennifer Robbins, who's a good friend of both of ours.
Yeah.
Talking to her at the end of day 2 about, I mean, honestly,
the old web and the new web.
The old web and the new web.
She's been around longer than I have, certainly.
Yeah.
She's been, when I say been around, I don't mean on the planet, I mean on the web.
Right.
She's been around on the web longer
Since like
than
93. Yeah.
Right. Which is saying something to me. She wrote the first.
Really is.
She like designed the first commercial website and wrote the first book on HTML that I ever saw. And I think that ever was. So yeah, and she's a pioneering podcaster, video podcaster with a show called Cooking with Rock Stars. Recently just modernized and brought back to life, that basically where she talks to Jack Black about his Doritos or his Dorito nachos or whatever, like talks to just mostly indie rock stars and quirky rock stars. And she did all these interviews in the early 2000s, before there was bandwidth and before there was the real audience. And it's just fantastic stuff. And when you sign up for our 3-day event, not only do you get to watch it again every session for the whole year, but as a special bonus, if you buy the 3-day pass, you'll receive 6 months of on-demand access to our first 3 online together events. You'll get the first show, the second show, and the third show we put on free, viewable for 6 months, as well as the show you just paid for. So it's 6 days for the price of 3, viewable for a minimum of 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And if you're one of the first 50 people to register, we've got the free collection of free ebooks that we're gonna be giving to.
That's right.
The first 50 people who register. So
and these are ebooks by 3 of our speakers.
At least 3, might be more. Still working on it.
Right. That's right. We're still putting the package together. So
yeah, but we know it'll be at least 3 speakers and their books, their ebooks, as I say, free for the first 50 people to register. So
if you go to eventapart.com and click on the big banner that says Fall Summit, click on the little button. You can look at the complete schedule of 18 talks, read the speaker bios, look at the 3 after hours special sessions, and think about what you want to learn this year, because we're probably covering it.
Yeah. And if we're not, let us know. Maybe we'll cover it later. But in the meantime.
Yep. And we're doing this now, but we'll be back in the coming weeks interviewing several of the speakers, especially folks who haven't spoken for us before, who may be new to our audience, to find out what makes them tick, what they're excited about presenting, what they care about and why.
Yep. Looking forward to those too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, radio. Awesome. Hopefully we'll see people there. And